If you're an adult who wants to enjoy playing some simple yet beautiful jazz piano, you're not alone. The number one thing people tell me when they want to learn piano is, I just want to be able to sit down and play something beautiful. Some jazz chords, a bit of improvisation. Great! But how do you actually practice jazz piano as a beginner? Good question, and one that I've dealt with myself. I grew up playing Bach, Beethoven, and Chopin, and I didn't even realize that people still play jazz until I got to college and heard the big band rehearsing. I thought jazz was something that happened in black and white movies and never in real life. That's how sheltered I was. So when I finally tried to learn jazz piano, I did what most adults do. I found teachers, I bought books, I took courses, and I remember leaving my very first jazz piano lesson with a giant stack of papers showing every mode I could use with every chord, about 100 jazz licks I was told to practice in every key, and a giant question mark above my head. What in the world was I supposed to do with all this information? It was overwhelming and honestly pretty discouraging. If I had to memorize all of this stuff before I could actually play something that sounded good, then maybe I just wasn't meant to play jazz. But because I'm kind of obsessive when I have a goal, I didn't give up. And over time, I was able to make some sense of what I actually needed to learn in order to play some simple standards and improvise music that actually sounded pretty good. So if you've tried to learn jazz before and felt like you were lost from the word go, I feel you 100%. And because I'm your best piano playing friend, in this video, I'll show you an exercise I created that I wish had been given to me at my first jazz piano lesson. Will this video take you from beginner to pro? No. But will it give you the skills to play every jazz song easily? Also no. One video can't do any of that. But here's what you will get. A simple exercise that you can actually play today that sounds so good, you'll want to play it for all your friends. And we're going to use this one exercise to train your hands to move easily from one chord to another, to learn to improvise some simple yet sophisticated sounding melodies over these chords, and to actually understand the theory behind what you're doing without having to memorize a bunch of stuff. Sounds good? Then let's get started. There's a couple of things I want you to keep in mind before I show you the exercise. The first thing is, you don't need to learn or understand everything right away. For example, if you were going to take a trip to Italy and wanted to learn a few phrases that would allow you to communicate with the locals, you wouldn't learn to conjugate every verb in every tense, learn 3 ways to say the same thing, learn how the Italian language developed over thousands of years of history. None of that would really be important, right? So in the same way, I want you to go into this exercise like you're learning the bare minimum to get started playing something that sounds good right away. And as we progress through the video, you'll start understanding more and more at deeper levels while you are actually doing the thing. I will say that the one major fail most of my jazz teachers had was loading me up with a ton of theory before I'd played a single thing that sounded like jazz. So I'm not going to do that with you. And the second thing I want you to keep in mind is that it's natural to have questions as you're learning. But for now, I want you to just do what I say and not get distracted by any questions that come up, okay? We're going to learn a modified 2-5-1 progression in the key of C. Nope, you do not need to transpose it to every key. Just stay in C for now. So why the 2-5-1 progression? Because it's a series of chords that is found all over the place in jazz. In classical too, but we're not talking about that right now. So if you get comfortable with the 2-5-1, you've basically done a huge chunk of the work of learning to play jazz. Again, you're not going to become a pro just because you can play a 2-5-1, but it takes you a long way into the genre. So just really quickly, this is called the 2-5-1 progression because it's describing the chords that we're using. Let's take a look at that. All right, if we're in the key of C, C is the first note, D is the second note, E is the third note, F, G, A, B, C. Each one has a number that indicates its order in the scale. So the 2 in the 2-5-1 is the chord, and specifically it's a minor 7th chord that's built on the second note of the scale. We're using C major because it's really easy to see how the chords are laid out. We're all just using white keys. So the 2 chord is built on a D. You play D and then skip a note each time until you have 4 notes in a row. That's the 2 chord. It's D minor 7. Okay, the 5 is built on the 5th note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on G. And again, you play G. You skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note, until you've got 4 notes. I was going to say 5. So you've got 4 notes, and we call that a dominant 7th chord. And then the 1 is built on the first note of the scale, which is C. We're following the same pattern. Play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note. That is a C major 7th chord. So if you want to hear all 3 in a row, it sounds like this. Okay, super common in jazz. Now, I do have videos that go into more detail about chords. I will link them below in the description box. So if you are not familiar or you want a little refresher, go ahead and watch those. But I still want you to watch this video all the way through just to have a great overview of what this exercise is and what it will do for you. Now remember I said it was a modified 2-5-1. So the way we're going to modify it is we're going to add one more chord to it, and that is the 6th chord built on the 6th note of the scale. Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we follow our pattern, it'd be note, skip a note, note, skip a note, note, skip a note, note, but we're going to modify it. We'll talk more about it later. I don't want to get into theory right now. We're going to change this particular chord. We're going to take the C and make it a C sharp. We're going to take the E and make it an F. Again, it doesn't matter why right now. You will understand later. Just stay with me here, okay? So that's going to be our 6th chord. It is definitely not using all white keys. Okay, so just stay with me here. Now, most teachers have you practice 2-5-1 progressions like this. Meaning you're playing the entire chord in one hand in root position and jumping around either with the left hand or the right hand. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with learning them like this. But the thing is, jazz players don't play chords in this way. And honestly, it doesn't sound that great. It's really good for becoming familiar with the notes. It's kind of useless for actually playing jazz. So let's practice something that does sound good and is more practical for those of us who are not trying to, play in the greatest jazz stages in the world. We just want to be able to play what we think sounds good, okay? I'll show you the exercise first, just so you can see it. I want you to not freak out because it's a lot simpler than it might look. And after I show you, I will break it down so that you'll be able to play it with me. And again, it's much easier than it looks. So here we go. can start it again. So it loops around as many times as you want. And when you're ready to end it, you end it whenever you get to the C chord. And you can tell it's a C chord because I'm playing C in the left hand. Okay, so you can loop as many times as you want. It just keeps going around and around so that you can play around with it. Okay. So what am I actually doing here? Well, let's take a look at the left hand first. The left hand is playing the root of each chord, meaning the note that it's built on. Remember, it's a 2, 5, 1, 6. So it goes from D, and I'm using octaves because it sounds good. You can play one note at a time if you want, but if you can play an octave easily, go ahead and jump in with octaves. So I play a D, G, C, that's my 2, 5, 1. Then I go to my 6, and I just keep playing it over. That's it. So let's play it together just one time, and then you can pause and practice here as many times as you want. Find your D. We're going to choose to go up from the D. You could go down if you want. There's a lot of options. I'm not going to give them all to you because I know from experience, the more options you get when you're first starting out, the more complex it seems, and you tend to kind of run out of decision-making muscle pretty fast. So just do what I do. We're going to follow like this. Okay, play. Here's middle C. Here's your Ds. Ready? We're going to play. Ready, go. D. Now just go up and find the next Gs. Okay, now we're going to go back down to C. And we're going to go down to A. That's what we're choosing to practice now. And we're going to loop it. Go again. Last time, and this time we're going to end it on C. There's a 2, the 5, and the 1. We only play the 6 if we want to bring it back to the 2 chord. Okay, that's the left hand. The right hand is playing what we call different voicings of the chord. Chord voicing just means that you're arranging the notes of a chord in a particular way on the keyboard. For now, don't worry about what notes of the chord the right hand is playing. I want you instead to follow a pattern I'm going to show you. Here we go. So the very first chord is the 2 chord. The right hand, again, we don't want to know right now if it's the 5th of the chord, the 7th. You'll get that later, okay? Just let's learn naturally, which is not by understanding every aspect of it before you do something. We do it, and then as we get better at it, we start getting different insights on what we're doing. Okay, so the right hand is going to start with C, F, A. Okay? That's all you need to know right now, C, F, A. From here, we're going to move just one note. It's going to be the thumb moving down to B. That's going to be for the 5 chord. Okay? So notice I'm not even worried about what notes I'm playing up here in the top because I know I'm not moving them. So let's do that again. C, F, A. And for the next chord, the 5 chord, you're going to move just the thumb down one note. Let's do that. Okay? Now, for the 1 chord, thumb stays where it is, and the top 2 notes move down to the very next white keys. Like that. So we went from here, that's the 5 chord, to the 1 chord. Play the 5 chord with me, and the 1 chord. Before we go to the 6 chord, let's do just that much. So C, F, A to start. That's really all you have to remember in terms of note names. From here, that's the 2 chord. We're going to move just the thumb down to the next white key. Here we go. That's the 5 chord. Now from here, we're going to move the top 2 fingers, and top means that way, down to the next white keys. Here we go. Okay? So if you want to pause here and practice a little bit, that's fine. You don't have to master anything because we're just going to add like layers of skill and understanding. You don't want to be totally lost, but you don't have to memorize it like 100%, okay? So one last time, let's go. That's the 2 chord, the 5 chord, 1 chord. All right, if you've got that pretty well, now I'm going to show you the 6 chord, the modified 6 chord, okay? And it looks like this. This is the only one that moves all of the fingers. So you'll have to remember this one. It's G, C sharp, F. You can just remember it, okay? So you go from here, and that's our 6th chord. All right, if you want to practice this, pause here and practice, okay? And then if you're ready, we're going to do all 4 chords in the right hand. C, F, A to start. Ready? Go. That's the 2 chord. Let's do the 5 chord. Let's do the 1 chord. And the 6 chord. Okay, we're halfway done. More than half. From here, we're going to do the 2 chord again, but this time a different voicing, meaning the notes are going to be in different order. So remember, the first time we played it, it was C, F, A. Okay, from here, we're going to do A, C, F. So same 3 notes, right? C, F, and A, but now A is on the bottom. So we were here for the 6th chord, the top note stays the same, and then these 2 notes move inward toward one another to white keys, like that. From here, we're going to keep everything where it is, except the middle note is going to go 1 down, next white key. Okay, that is the 5 chord. From here, the top note and the bottom note are going to move down to the next white key. That's the 1 chord. And then from here, we go to the same modified 6 chord. Okay, so let's practice this second half. Here is the 2 chord, middle note, middle finger, this guy, moves down 1 white key. That's the 5 chord. And from here, the top and bottom notes move down 1 white key. That's the 1 chord, and then back to the same modified 6 chord we had before. You can use whatever fingers work for you. If your hands are really big or small, it's going to feel different in your hand. So pause and practice that. Don't try to memorize notes. Memorize, not even memorize, just kind of feel in your hand, listen with your ears, and kind of remember who is moving where, okay? So I'm showing you the music notation, but I don't want you to get in the habit of reading chords, because in jazz, if you're actually playing jazz, you won't be reading chords. You might be reading chord symbols or even just thinking about chords if you're playing off the top of your head. So practice what you're actually going to be doing, okay? So if you're here, it means you pretty much have it. We're going to play it together all the way through. C, F, A to start. Ready, go. Thumb moves down for the 5 chord. Top 2 fingers move down for the 1 chord. Now remember that modified 6 chord. G, C sharp, F. Whatever fingering you want. From here, the top finger is going to stay where it is. The other 2 fingers are going to move inward toward one another to the white keys. Okay, now the middle note is going to move down to the next white key. And then the outside notes, not the middle one, are going to move down to the next white keys. Okay, so you'll need to practice that before we move on to the next step. All right, now we're going to put the hands together. So we start with the 2 chord, C, F, A. Ready? If you want to use the pedal, you can. It sounds really good, and all I'm doing is changing the pedal whenever I have a new chord. So here we go. That's the 2 chord. Okay, we're going to go to G. Here's the 5 chord. And then we're going to go to C with the left hand. Here's the 1 chord. All right, A with the left hand, modified 6 chord. Now here's the new voicing. Left hand doesn't change. 2 chord, 5 chord, and 1 chord. Back to the 6. From here, we can loop it from back to the beginning. I feel like I need a drummer and a bass player right now. And then 2, 5, 1, and we're going to stop it on the 1. Okay, so that you can loop as many times as you want, and it sounds pretty good. And if you've got an iPad, I've got a video that shows you how to set up some beats on that iPad that you can play with. I'll link that video below also. So if you need some time to practice this, that's good. I really do want you to watch this video all the way through because I want you to get a big picture and understand how we're going to be adding to this exercise to level up your piano skills. So let's take a look at the next step. All right, so one thing I do want to mention here before we go any further is as you're playing the chords, take your time to go to the next one. You don't want to kind of, hunt and peck. That's not really helping you learn anything. So if you need to hang out here for a while and say, all right, on the first one, let's see what happens. The thumb moves down. Okay. And then on the next one, what was it? Oh yeah, the top 2 fingers move down. Okay, so you want to take time to really direct your fingers on where to go. That doesn't mean that you can't make mistakes. Obviously, mistakes are part of learning, and you should be happy when you make mistakes because that means you're learning something new. However, there are mistakes that move you forward, and there are mistakes that just happen because you're not planning. And those don't really move you forward unless you take them as an opportunity to remember what not to do. So we don't want to hunt and peck like, oh, does that sound right? Oh, does that sound right? No, think about it, okay? If you want to write down the pattern of this is what moves and that's what moves, that's great. But again, I don't want you to just go by what notes you might be reading on the sheet music. Okay, so now when we play both hands, we're going to add some movement in the right hand. There are lots of ways to do this. I'm going to show you 3 ways because again, when you're first starting, having a million options is not helpful. It actually hinders you. So 3, I think, is a good number to start with. So when we add movement to these chords, it's actually going to help reinforce learning the chords. That's why I want you to watch the whole video so you don't get stuck at a certain point. You understand what we're doing. So the first chord, again, I'm going to remember it's D in the left hand. The right hand is C, F, A. Okay. Here's what I mean by adding movement. I'm going to play the chord, and then I'm going to play the chord again, but as an arpeggio up and down, like this. So you see how that is helping to reinforce what you just did. It's already starting to sound like something. From here, let's go to the next chord, the 5. Again, arpeggio up and down. Okay, then the 1 chord, doing our arpeggio. The 6 chord. Now, the other voicing for the 2 chord. The 5 chord. 1 chord. 6, because we're going to loop it. Back to the beginning. And you can do it your tempo. Let's say it's this slow. Enjoy it. Make it sound like music. and we're going to end it on the one chord. So that's one way to add movement in the right hand. All right, let's see another way. This one's a little bit more complex, I guess, if you want to say. I don't like to say harder. It's not harder. It's just a different way of playing it. How about that? Okay, so watch me first. So I play the chord again. I always play each chord first because I want to remember what those chords are before I go and do anything fancier. Okay, so I'm going to play the low note first. Then I'm going to do just top down. So. Okay? Basically, it's one note different from what we just did. The arpeggio up and down went. Now we're going to leave out that first F. Okay? But it's an option that sounds different. So. I'm going to go kind of fast. You can do it at your tempo. And so on, okay? You understand the concept. All right. Then I'll give you one more way to add movement in the right hand. It's very similar to the first two that we just did, but slightly different. Okay, so I'm going to play, instead of starting on the bottom of the chord, I'm going to play the top note first. Then I'm going to do the arpeggio going up. So top note, and then start at the bottom of the chord, and arpeggio up. Again, we're reinforcing all the notes of the chord while also making a bit of a melody. It's really pretty. Like, I could sit here, I'm recording this at night, it's kind of dark in my studio, and I'm feeling a vibe, and all I'm doing is practicing an exercise. Okay, so it goes like this. Low note, then start at the top, and arpeggio down. Loop it, and you know the rest. Okay, so again, every time we add a layer, we're reinforcing what we've already learned, and that's why I say you don't really need to master anything before moving on. Also, there's another thing to remember, and it's that when you come back to practice this tomorrow or a few days from now, you will have forgotten some of it, maybe a lot of it, depending on how much time you took off. This is not a you thing. This is a human thing, and we all deal with it. No matter how good we are at piano, if we don't practice a bit of information, new information, consistently, we will definitely forget it. And even if we practice every day, we come back the next day, we've forgotten a little bit, but we remember it a lot faster when we practice it. So the more you revisit the same information, and the more often that you revisit it, the better it gets embedded into your mind and your fingers. So don't worry if you come back tomorrow and you're like, I forgot what I practiced. This is how learning works. I actually have a video that talks about the absolute best and fastest way to learn. I'll link that video as well below so that you can watch it and learn everything even faster. Okay, so when you have this learned pretty well, we are ready to level up and start working on improvising. Let's go. Improvising seemed like a huge mystery to me when I first started to learn jazz, because it looked like pianists would just sit there and their fingers would magically fly over the keys, creating perfect melodies. Well, the truth is that improvising is not magical, and the pianists whose fingers fly over the keys have spent a lot of time drilling different licks, practicing exercises, listening to a whole bunch of other jazz musicians of every instrument, transcribing their solos means they're writing them down note for note. So it was not the magical skill that people were born with that I thought it was. So if you don't know how to improvise yet, what I'm telling you is nobody knows how to improvise when they're first starting, at least not to the level where you see them in performance. Okay? So we're going to start with something very basic and repetitive to drill these different kinds of ideas into your fingers, your ears, and your mind. So when you're playing the chord notes one at a time, you can actually go into each note from the note that is just below it. Here's what I mean. If you're playing the 2 chord, in the right hand you've got 3 notes, C, F, A. You can, before playing each of these notes, like if you're doing the arpeggio, you can play the note that is right below it on the keyboard. So instead of just doing this, we're going to go into each note from the note right below it. Whether it's a black key or a white key, doesn't matter. It's the note directly to the left of it, which we call below in piano. So here, and again, fingering, do whatever works for you, okay? There's no right fingering. So here we'll go into it, and then here, and then here. So you see I'm still playing the chord notes, but before each one I'm playing the note right below. It looks like this. Okay, and we're just drilling. This isn't necessarily going to sound like the most beautiful thing you've ever done, but you have to input the information in a systematic way in order to be able to retrieve it when you need to in a way that sounds good. Okay, so let's go together. Okay. This is also reinforcing the notes of the chord because you have to remember what they are, okay? Now let's do the 5th chord. Again, we're going to go into each of these notes from the note right below it. Okay, going to the 1 chord, same thing. Okay, and then the 6th chord, going into each note. Sounds so pretty, right? Okay, and then let's keep going. Here's our 2nd voicing, going into each chord note from the note right below. Use whatever fingering you want. And then the 5 chord, going into it. The 1 chord, going into each note from a half step below. That's another way of saying the note right below. Back to our modified 6 chord. Okay, so if we were going to do the actual arpeggio that we practiced, it would sound like this. Okay, we're just going right back down. The 1 chord. This is helping you to remember the chord notes and also what notes you can use for improvising that fit over this chord. the second voicing set. Then the 5 chord. I know it's blurring together with the pedal. That's okay for now. I'll leave out the pedal. And then the 6th chord. And then you can loop it, okay? So again, it's a drill that is directly teaching yourself different notes that sound good with this chord, okay? You can use the same idea to practice the other right hand movement that we had, which was the low note and then arpeggiating downward. I won't play the entire thing. I'll just show you 2 of the chords, but you understand the concept. So here is the 2 chord. I'm going to play the bottom note with the approach, and then top note, middle note, bottom note. The 5 chord, bottom note, okay, and so on. So you can practice that one. And then the other one we had, the other movement was playing the chord, the top note, and then going up. Okay, we can do the approach from below. So like this. And then here's the 5 chord. And the 1 chord. There it is. We're doing it very systematically, not haphazardly, like trying to find improvisational notes that sound good. We're just putting in the information. It's like putting money in the bank and then waiting for that interest to grow, to compound. That's what we're doing here. This isn't like brilliant improvising, but I've got news for you. I went to school with a lot of brilliant improvisers, and sometimes I heard their beginning stages and they did not start out as brilliant improvisers. So this is definitely a step along the way. Next, I'll show you a different way to add melodies to these chords. By the way, I'm building a jazz piano course for beginners and regular people like you and me. Not people who are trying to compete with jazz legends, just adults who want to be able to sit down at the piano and play some simple jazz songs and a little bit of jazz improv, and to make it sound fairly sophisticated and beautiful. So, if you're interested in that course, which I have not created yet, well, maybe I have, depends on when you're watching this, you can sign up to be notified when it's ready. There's a waitlist link below in the description box. So hop on that wait list so you don't miss it. I will send you an email to let you know when the course is ready. You are not signing up to buy anything at this time. And if you want to be on my general mailing list, you'll need to sign up for that separately because I don't want to send you emails that you're not interested in receiving. Anyway, there's a bunch of links below. You just have to look and read and find what works for you. Okay, so now we're going to move between the notes of the chords with scales, basically turning these chord notes into melodies. Now, before you can actually improvise, you need to teach yourself what notes are available for improvising so that you don't actively have to think about it when you're making up music on the spot. So we're drilling basically the C major scale in this exercise. When you have a 2-5-1 progression, it's very safe to take the scale of the 1 chord and use that for all 3 chords. So in this case, you can use any white key over any of the chords. I'll just play a C major scale. This is not meant to sound good with each chord just so you can hear, except of course that modified 6th chord. These are all C major scales. Okay, just all white keys. Now, when we are playing this chord, we'll be playing a different scale. But for now, let's use the notes of the C major scale in the chord progression. So let's first look at the 2, the 5, and the 1. I play what we've learned so far. Now I'm going to play from the bottom note to the top note using the scale C major, which is all the white keys. Okay? The 5 chord, again, from the bottom note to the top note, playing the scale. And then the 1 chord, playing from the bottom note to the top note, the scale. Okay, now, this guy, the A, I'm going to tell you now what it's called. It's called an A augmented 7th chord. Another way to say it is A7 sharp 5. They both mean the same thing. Basically, it's like a dominant 7th chord, but the fifth of the chord, I'm not going to go into scale theory here. I have videos. Yep, I have videos to talk about that. Link below. Just the fifth of the chord is up a half step. We call that sharp, like raising the fifth. We make it sharp. So this is called an A7 sharp 5 or A augmented 7th chord. Because it's a type of dominant 7th chord, it doesn't belong just to itself. We can say that it's the 5/7 of D. I'm not going to go into too much theory, just take it for what I say. So we can use the notes of the D minor scale for that guy. I have a video that talks about major and minor scales. There's a lot of theory, you guys. I'm just going to tell you that the D minor scale has a lot of notes we can use. So these are the notes you can use in D minor. D, E, F, G, A, B flat, B natural, C, C sharp. Okay. So when we're playing up in this guy, we can play that, or it sounds really sophisticated. You have them in front of you on the screen. Just pick whichever notes you want. You can play them all, I guess, if you want. You could do that. You could choose some of them, depending on the sound you're going for. So this is why I really love this chord. It gives you so many opportunities for choosing different notes to improvise. I will say that this is the most challenging part of this exercise, but it doesn't have to be. If you just pick whatever notes you want to play, you have them there in front of you. You can even write them down on a piece of paper on this chord. You can play basically all the white keys. That's a good way to remember it. All the white keys plus the B flat and the C sharp. There's one way you can remember. So let's just say we chose that one. All right, now we're on the second voicing. Now we're back to safer waters. The white keys. The 5 chord. The 1 chord. And then back to our interesting chord. Choose your notes, okay? If that's too much theory to handle for right now, it's okay. Just write down the notes you can use for the A augmented 7 chord and just play and get used to it. Later on, you can make more sense of it. Really, it's more important to be able to do this at the piano than to 100% understand the theory behind it. All right, so from here, you can experiment using all the different steps you've learned so far. Experimenting and spending time just exploring the sounds here at the piano are the things that make you into a good pianist. Sometimes you'll play things that you love, and other times you won't, and that's exactly how it should be. Let me just show you one option of how you can combine what we've learned so far. So let's say you're starting with the beginning, and you know that not only can you use the notes of the C major scale, but you can also go into each of the notes by the note underneath it, the half-step approach. You could do something like this. You can leave out some of the notes. For example, you could do scales, and then you could do the arpeggio. All right, so this is where experimenting will take you very far. Just sit and make music at the piano using the very limited rules I've given you so far. And again, I'm giving you limited rules because it's easier to learn that way. So far, we haven't talked about a very important part of music, and that is rhythm. So we'll do that next. I'll show you a couple of rhythm variations you can practice, and I want you then again to experiment with different rhythms when you are improvising using what I've just shown you. Remember, as you're playing, that space is also important. The spaces between the notes can say a lot. So don't feel like you have to constantly play. You can take a breath, wait a little while. So let me show you a very common way to add rhythm to music. We can use eighth notes and triplets. And again, we don't want to get stuck in the theory part of it. But if I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. I'm going to do the scale right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you hear? I did a long note here. 1, 2, and 3. And here's my triplet. Listen to it. I'll do like a... I'm not a beatboxer, okay? You can laugh at me in the comments if you want, but let's just say that's my beat. Okay, here we go. I can't do it. Fast. Right? So don't be afraid to have longer notes, shorter notes. You could do... Right? You can mix up your scales. Doesn't have to go just up or just down. You can use any of those. All right. Before I let you go, I'm going to tell you what chords we're actually playing, since you've stuck with me this long. All right, so here's our D minor 7. The left hand's playing the root, the right hand is playing the 7th, the 3rd, and the 5th, okay, of the chord. This is our G dominant 9, or just G9 will work too. Root, 3rd, 7th, 9th. Notice we're not playing the 5th. It's because it's not that important. The only time the 5th is important in a chord is if it's modified, like if it's a sharp or a flat. So you can easily leave it out. Okay? This is our C major 7. Again, we're playing the root, the 7th, the 3rd, and the 5th. And here's our A augmented 7th chord. Root, 7, 3rd, sharp 5, so pretty. Now here's the other voicing. Root, 5th, 7, third. Here's our G, 9, root, 9th, 3rd, 7th, again leaving out the 5th. Here's what it sounds like with the 5th. It's fine. See, it's not a whole lot different. And then our C major 7 chord, root, 5th, 7th, 3rd, and then we already know about our augmented 7th chord. We already played that. All right. So here's the part that always annoyed me with jazz piano lessons and courses, and especially YouTube videos. And that is that the instructor closes the video or the lesson or whatever with a demonstration of what they just taught you. But it's a lot more complex and advanced than what they just taught you. Guess what? I'm not going to do that. But I will say that this exercise is a great start, and I want you to learn it and then experiment with putting together everything you learned here and adding your own ideas. So use your imagination, have fun with it, and remember that improvising just means that you're making up something on the spot. It's like composing on the spot. So every time you sit at the piano, if you're experimenting, you're improvising. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And if you want to learn more about how to start playing jazz piano, go ahead and sign up for that wait list for my course. And when the course is ready, that link will no longer be a wait list, but it will be a link to the course itself. Do you want to know the secret to deep and quick learning backed by science and my own personal experience? Then watch this video next. Keep practicing, have fun, and I'll see you soon. Bye.